Hi Internet, Arc speaking, and I forgot to write an intro. No intro. Yeah, no intro. Today, we're going from countdown lights to checkered flags on a course that is near and dear to me. I mean, really, I spend way too much time on this cow-infested circuit, Moo Moo Meadows. Moo Moo Meadows is generally classified as a luck course. Its unique properties and layouts house 2 shroom cuts at the beginning of the race, and minor optimizations toward the end. This unique property of having dessert before dinner is actually unique to only 3 courses in this game, as the shortcut in the beginning makes it so nothing really matters until you get into lap 3. Ironically, this also makes this course just a little bit more runnable than our previous topic, LC, but more on that in the strategy section. Let's start with the general lines. From the top, you'll want to aim for in between the fence or tree in the distance and the blue house. Then the first turn is 2 delay drifts into mixed soft drifts into insta-wheelies. One side note, don't start the second drift too quickly. If you do, you'll lose a surprising amount of speed. There's definitely a timing for it. Now once you finish those 2 turns, do a delay drift in the opposite direction into a mixed soft drift, but this time into a follow-through. If you have a shroom, you'll want your follow-through to be parallel to this grass fringe. But if you're going shroomless, you'll want to draw an imaginary line that runs right through the curvy section and align to that. If you took the shroom cut, start a delay hard follow drift about halfway through the cut. Then aim in between the blue ramp and the fence. If you want around, however, a lot of players online, including myself at one point, do a 08 soft follow through into the same gap between the ramp and the fence. However, this isn't actually the fastest way to go about this, and nowadays a lot of people are beginning to implement this second method instead. What you do is a 08 hard drift into an insta-wheelie. When you release the drift as quickly as possible, you'll be aiming toward the left side of the ramp, so just drift trick to the right when going off. After those 2 paths merge, you'll want to do a delay soft insta-wheelie and go off the ramp. Then depending if you get a low trick or not, you'll either want to nosedive, then turn in your wheelie while in the boost if you get the low trick, or if you get high air, you'll want to do a short drift into a wheelie. Then either get a slip or delay into a soft drift, then do a small follow through or an insta-wheelie. You'll need at least 1 chain when going into the next lap. And just a side note, the first turn of the second and third laps are normally 08s instead of delays, as the course is shaped in a weird way that actually forces you to go quite wide. Shortcuts. There's only one main shortcut on this course that requires practice, and that's the low on the last ramp. A lot of people struggle with this low trick, but it's really not that hard. You just need to learn these 4 things. First, you can only do this on the very right side of the ramp. Also, it helps to go at a slight angle to the right like shown. This example is obviously exaggerated, but you get the idea. Second, you need a certain amount of speed when attempting this. So sorry, you can't crawl up to it and align. If you don't have enough speed, you'll most likely do a double trick. Third, it's way more consistent if you are not wheeling. If you watch very carefully, all the BKTs drop the wheelie before the ramp. This isn't just for aligning, it's used to make the trick more consistent. This is actually what killed me the most because I didn't realize you're supposed to drop the wheelie. And last, low tricking by pressing the hop button. Common misconception to newer players is you have to hop in order to low trick this ramp. That's not true. It's almost 100% alignment and not wheeling. However, I am aware some Japanese players do actually low trick this by jumping, and you can, you just don't have to. So for good measure, here's what the trick looks like in RTA. Once you learn it, start to practice nosediving and not bouncing around, then learn the follow through or short drift into the last turn. Remember, the ending section is just as important to learn as the low trick ramp itself. There are actually 2 obstacles on this course, the cows and the moles. That sounds like a book title. The cows stick around the pastures at the beginning of the course, and the moles are around the last couple grass patches at the end. Each of them have a cycle that they follow. For instance, the cows go by 2 groups. The first group is a pack of 3, and the second group is a pack of 4. Here's the patterns. I'm not going to read all of it out because it is a lot of nerd talk, but if you want to pause the video, these are all the timing patterns for when the cows get on the road, how long they stay, and when they get off. So what does all this nerd talk mean? Well, in a time trial, it means the only cow you'll ever run into is probably the first pack on lap 3. However, online, if you're pretty far behind, you could run into the second pack both on lap 2 and lap 3. And also the first pack of lap 3, of course. The cows have pretty fair hitboxes, so for the most part, as long as you aren't an idiot and just run into them head on, you should be fine. Also, you could hit the cows with shells and bombs to make them pop-ups for a few seconds. It's quite rare when you need to do this, but sometimes you could throw a shell at a cow to go under them. Just remember the window of time isn't that big. Next, the moles. The moles have two interesting properties. One, they have the pop-out moment that if you get hit, it simulates getting hit by a green shell. However, the timing of when the moles pop out of their holes are pretty far and few in between. Not to mention, they have dedicated spots where they pop out on the map. So once you learn those, you, for the most part, shouldn't have a problem with getting hit by moles. The second and more annoying part about moles is their trails. The trails left behind by moles last about 2 seconds and have a heavy off-road effect when you drive over them. If you have to cut across the trail, normally before the big ramp, the best option is to jump over it, as the trailing hitbox only affects players when they're on the ground. However, the most common two spots that these trails kill players on is the turn right after the blue ramp and the last turn. For between the ramps, normally the best thing to do is respect the trail, so go wide and around the dirt. However, on the last turn, there is actually a small enough space for you to drift inside the trail. I would recommend practicing this either in a time trial or against bots. As a course like Moo Moo Meadows has such a small amount of predictable strategy, you can't afford to throw away any skill opportunity that the track throws at you. From a strategical perspective, Moo Moo Meadows is a rough one. As Sword would say, nothing really matters until the last set of lap 3, and he's for the most part correct. You see, when trying to play Moo Moo Meadows online, there's a pretty basic, yet stupid concept you have to understand, and that's item cycles. What are item cycles? Simply put, cycling items is the process of going through more than one item box to try to get the item you want. So for example, let's say you're in first and you want triple bananas. The probability of triples is 10%. So by going through 3 boxes, the odds of you pulling triples is 1/10 by 3 sets. I'm gonna try not to nerd out on you, but if you seriously want to know the exact probability for how likely an item is to get after a certain amount of boxes hit, you're gonna need to know something called geometric distributions. Now I'm sure most of you guys know what that is, but I'm also aware that a lot of kids watch the channel as well, or you may just want a refresher on Miss Betty's math class. Both work. For the example we just gave, 1 out of 10 chance for triples, so the formula is 1 minus p, p is the probability of success, so that's 1 out of 10, or 10%. 1 minus 1/10 is 9/10. Then, we're adding the power of however many attempts in the form of k, in our case 3. 3 minus 1, so that's 2, 0.9 to the power of 2 is 0.81 multiplied by 0.10, our original probability. We also need to add the probability of all the potential chances of you getting triple bananas on other attempts, not just the third one. If we do this for all 3 solutions, we end up with a probability of 27.1%. Definitely much better than 10%. God, I hate math. And this is the problem with Moo Moo Meadows. On lap 1, there's only 1 item set before the course's shortcut, as Moo Moo Meadows has its track layout to have the shortcut at the beginning instead of at the end of the track. So the first box that you hit is really a luck of the draw. Even if you are in the best position to get a shroom, 4th place, it's only ever a 22.5% chance on your first try. Compare that to LC, which if you cycled 2 or even 3 boxes, the probability skyrockets from 22% to about 66.6%. In fractions form, that's 1 out of 5 to 2 out of 3. That's why, as much as I would love to give strategical advice on this course, it really is a dice roll in its simplest form. My best piece of advice is be opportunistic on courses like these. If you get lucky and get triples on your first roll, take it. If you see an opening, run with it. I still stand by the fact that I think Moo Moo Meadows is probably the least competitively viable track in the entire game, despite the fact it has more technical elements than a course like Luigi's Circuit. However, if I find the data to support a certain position or a certain playstyle to benefit from, I'll be sure to let you know. It's just that all the data that I've spent digging through and looking at competitive Moo Moo Meadows matches, there's just no rhyme or reason to which players benefit from certain spots. It's about as scrambled as they come. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to do the YouTube stuff on your way out. Also, I do stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday mornings. If live streams are your thing, I'd recommend coming over and saying hi. I don't bite. Happy racing.